Welcome to The Disappearing Mind, a unique podcast helping you find clarity and support along your dementia journey. Now, join National Dementia Trainer and Coach, Dawn Platt, for an all-new episode.
Welcome to the Disappearing Mind podcast. We're here to explore and navigate cognitive change and some opportunities that we can talk about to make a difference in your brain health. I'm your host, Dawn Platt. I am a dementia trainer and coach. I'm also a memory care provider professional. I am so excited about today's podcast. There's so many things I want to talk about, but let's get into it with my introduction and then I'll bring on my guest. So brain health is increasingly becoming a topic of popularity. It's a topic of conversation. And we're certainly excited about seeing this happen right now. We're hearing more about prevention, cognitive reserve, and lifestyle factors more than ever before. But here's the challenge. We talk about brain health, but many people still don't know or understand what it actually looks like in real life. We're going to tackle that topic today, and we're going to talk about prevention. We're going to talk about early cognitive change and even talk about cognitive reserve as a person may be declining with dementia. Today's conversation is going to bring that all into focus. And if I can stay contained, because I am crazily passionate about this particular topic, and I want you to hear what my guest has to say. But my guest today, is not just going to talk about exercise, but intentional brain-body engagement, which is exciting stuff to me as a practitioner. Join me today as I welcome Cathi Lamberti, a pioneer in brain-body training and cognitive fitness design. She is also the CEO of SMARTfit. Welcome, Cathi.
Oh, thank you, Dawn, for having me. I'm really excited to be part of this. I'm also passionate about this topic. So I'm looking forward to see where we can go with this.
Absolutely. Let's cast some hope today and get people fired up about what they can do. But you've spent your career innovating in fitness and technology. What led you to specifically focus on cognitive fitness?
Oh, my goodness. So I had an unusual upbringing. I grew up on a rural farm, very rural farm in South Africa, where the indigenous people were very indigenous, if I can say it that way. And in growing up on this farm, just watching and being alongside indigenous people and how they engaged with the world stuck with me. So when my family moved to the city and I landed up in a city school, then a city university, and then I graduated as a teacher, a high school teacher, that early experience just hung with me as I watched people in a modern world sit all day and engage with the world, more and more separating our thinking and our needs from, oh, it's easily acquired and I can sit all day and do my job. And I can, when I retire, it means that I can go home and sit all day. And I'm just going, there's something not right about this, So I started to look into how our DNA evolves and the cognitive movement, cognitive engagement with how we evolved over 250,000 years and how that engagement with the world, hunter-gatherer style, changed when we got into the Industrial Revolution and started creating machines to do the work and creating schools where kids sit all day. So that was my awakening. And I decided to create a technology, not to help more sedentary lifestyle, but to reverse it, to make the human the input device and the machine just the stimulus to get the person to engage with their brain and body as if they were hunter-gatherers. And that means they need to problem solve, they need to plan, they need to make decisions, and then make a motor movement, rather than I just have stimulus response, stimulus response, stimulus response. Getting away from that to rather intentional thought prior to moving that triggers the creation of skills, life skills, engagement, mental and physical skills, working memory, ability to hold a thought, etc.
Wow. Wow. You are definitely the most interesting fitness professional that I've probably ever spoken to. I will say that. Your unique perspective and approach to cognitive wellness and preservation is, I've never encountered before, to be honest. I've worked with a lot of professionals in the fitness realm, but what was missing in traditional fitness that made you rethink the model, and how were you received when you started moving forward in this type of fitness?
Oh, this is a great question. So when you look at two things, one, the world of sports, and then the world of fitness, okay? Here's the huge difference between the two. In the world of fitness, you've got these isolating rooms, uniplanar strength, yoga, Pilates, aerobics. You've got all of these different things going on that are separated. When I'm on a strength machine, I'm doing my lower extremity strength or my biceps or my triceps. Okay, we've broken it all up. And but when you go into the world of sports and you look at how a game is played, a match is played, okay, an athlete has a job to do. I have to score a goal, right? And I have to have skills, and I have to have planning, and I have to work with my team. What's going on here? Look at all the executive function decisions. In other words, I'm planning, I'm strategizing, I'm looking at what's going on, the constant changing events going on in the game, and I'm having to respond to them, strategize, execute with really good skills. Okay, that is very similar to how we evolved as hunter-gatherers. It is why we love it, because when someone is really, really, really good, we love it. Why do we love it like that? There's something in us that feels the brilliance of that execution. So you've got millions of people watching athletes doing this, not because we're bored or anything, but because we identify with that incredible skill that still exists in our DNA. So yes, sports has it. The traditional fitness industry lacks it. So that is where I felt that if I created this technology and added it to the wellness and fitness industry, we would be closing the gap.
Wow, again. Well, again. So let's define that, right? The brain body training and even dual tasking. What did you create? And again, how did you go about it?
Well, I got the idea in a dream, which sounds a bit funny, but I did. I was looking for, I just immigrated from Australia, and I was looking for what I was going to dedicate my life for, because I had sold my company successfully and I was depressed. And I realized I didn't have purpose. So I thought, well, what's going to get me out of bed every day if I'm so depressed? I lost my purpose. I sold my company. And I had this dream about how I could change the way people engage and move in their way of exercise that would enhance the quality of life. I didn't understand it. It was just a dream. I had no idea. But serendipity brought things together, and I eventually found an engineer to create a prototype for me. And that prototype, Billie Jean King heard about it, and because the prototype was about sports training, tennis training in particular, she asked if she could see it. So when I managed to set that up and she saw it, she just blew her mind. She just said, "This is absolutely amazing. This, if an athlete trained on this for 10 minutes before a match, they could get in the zone quickly. And I went, okay. And then she said, but you can't just focus on sport. You need to focus on where the problem lies, and that's with our children. These couch potatoes playing computer games, you really need to do something about that. So I changed my direction, and with Billie Jean's help, she mentored me for about 6 years after that. We restructured the company and focused on the children's market, and we did that for a period of time. But then the professors from University of Southern California, Dr. Charles Liu, heard about what I was doing, and he came to me and he said, Cathi, you've created a breakthrough in dual task training. This is what we've been looking for, but you really need to focus on medical. So he then, I said, well, I'm just doing the best I can with the money I've got. I don't have big money. I'm just, my friends and family are paying for this. So he said, we'll fund, the USC funded a Parkinson's study to see how Parkinson's can be affected, slow the rate of Parkinson's by doing this form of exercise. And they funded that study with Dr. Beth Fisher. And she turned out the results that the SMARTfit programming actually slowed the onset of Parkinson's faster than her traditional physical therapy. So that was a really good win for us. And then the University of Buffalo had reached out and said, we'd like to see if this can slow the onset of mild cognitive impairment. So they conducted a study and published as well, proving that this form of exercise can slow the onset of mild cognitive impairment. And one of the most beautiful stories that came out of that was there was a lady who had never been to the gym. This was at the Buffalo YMCA. She'd never been to the gym. Her friends dragged her in. She was 82 years of age on a walker. And she didn't want to do it, but after about 3 or 4 weeks, she threw the walker away. And at the end of the 12-week program, she was shopping independently in the local supermarket. And to me, that is, if you want to know, like for me, I've just wondered, am I doing the right thing with my life? Am I fooling people? Am I on the right track? And when I get a story like that, or from a stroke patient that recovered quickly, it just helps me to stay with the struggle of building out what we're doing. And I know that's a long answer to your question, but I hope it answers it.
Wow. I didn't know all those things either. Okay. So let's back up just a little bit, because I need people to understand what you created. And so I want to start with, and I have to say, I use this term a lot, and it's a new term to a lot of people, right? What is dual tasking? What is the brain-body connection and training actually mean? So tell our audience, the concept that you use, right, is dual task training, right? Or one of the concepts that you use. Can you explain that?
So absolutely. So before I answer what dual task training is, I'm going to answer how we traditionally engage with the world, because it's all dual tasking. Okay. You have a thought and you want something. I need to brush my teeth. Okay. So you go to the bathroom and you pick up the toothbrush and you brush your teeth. And while you're brushing your teeth, you're thinking about what you're going to have for breakfast. Okay. So you're planning what the next step is after you've brushed your teeth, because you're automatically brushing your teeth. You had the thought, you went to the bathroom, now you're brushing your teeth. Now the next thought is also about completing the brushing of the teeth properly, and then what you're going to do after that. That's dual tasking. We're thinking, planning, making decisions constantly while we are executing motor skills. And a motor skill is, a physical movement that we learn practice enough until we can kind of do it without thinking about it, right? So then you'll go to the kitchen and you'll plan your breakfast, and then you'll prepare your breakfast. That's all dual tasking, thinking and moving, thinking and moving, thinking and moving. We do that all the time. Now, when we go to the gym and we sit on a cycle and we watch TV, that's not dual tasking. That's putting your mind to work on something that's a distraction while you work your motor system. That's not dual tasking because they're not integrated working together. So our technology is designed to make you think and move together. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. So that's SMARTfit.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us
and
more.
that is dual tasking.
Tell us more
Dual
about
tasking,
SMARTfit.
yeah, I will. Right now. So dual tasking is when you do a cognitive and a physical motion together. So what we've done is we've created a series of machines, and they all have targets in them. Like and each target is an intelligent computer. So I'll give you a simple example. And it's all gamified, like it's game and it's fun and it's engaging and all of that fun stuff to get you to do it and practice it. So the game is on. You might have a game called Track the ABC. So you have to, one of the targets will say, each target will give a different letter, and then you need to strike the A, and then it resets, and you have to look for where the B is, and then it resets, and you have to look for where the C is. And while you're doing this, you might be standing on a balance pad, on a single foot, or holding a 5-pound dumbbell while you strike. So we're getting you to do a physical task and a mental task at the same time. Now, that looking for where the next letter is, identifying it, and then telling your body to strike that, and then immediately looking for where the next letter is, that is what we call executive function training. That decision-making, planning, and action, telling your body what to do with a cognitive thought. That is where all the power is. Because when you do that and you practice that, you develop a stronger frontal cortex. The decision-making part of your brain gets stronger. It's called, we build cognitive reserve. We can talk more about that later. But this cognitive reserve, this ability to stay alert, engaged, and working your brain while you work your body, when you do that in a, say, SmartFit training skill like Seek the Letter, you're not only training yourself to play that game better, it's actually activating all of the other parts of your executive function domain, which means it helps you to create new memories unassociated with the training.
Cathi, this is amazing. This is so amazing. And I know that we have people at home listening. We have, younger people listening. We have people who are caregivers and married to someone who has dementia. And I just was having a conversation with a young lady about going to the gym every day. So let's bring this in practical, because what you've done is a step above going to the gym. Right. It's a step above just doing the normal workout that everyone tries to do, or gaming and those sorts of things. But for the person, if I'm going to the gym, right, today, and I'm getting on normal equipment, going through my routine, what are some of the things a person could add to that routine in a gym that doesn't have SmartFit? Right, to consider, the workout dual fitness, and that would be, a brain workout for me.
I believe, and I've listened to the experts, and on our website, the experts are running a series of podcasts about this topic. I believe in addition to SmartFit and sports, the following are where you will find dual tasking, which is engaging the brain and body at the same time. Tai Chi, excellent. Yoga, good. Dancing, excellent. Okay, so you can see that in each one of the things I've mentioned, there's focused thought and movement together. Okay, if you're going to do something where there is no focused decision making, you're following instructions without thought, or you're doing a physical task on its own, or a cognitive task on its own. You're playing Sudoku. I love Sudoku, right? But it's a cognitive task. If you're on a treadmill and you're running, it's a physical task. If you're lifting weights, it's a physical task. I do all of these things. They're all very, very important. The reason why we want to do dual tasking is because we're thinking and moving together. Okay, that's the key. And it is so, so important because it aligns with our DNA. If we evolved over hundreds of thousands of years with DNA that really likes thinking and doing things together, then doesn't it make sense that we're going to get better results if we trained in conjunction with our DNA, you know? So for me, I look at it with a non-scientific mind, and I say, well, what is cognitive reserve? Because everyone says if you do dual task training, especially executive function dual task training, that produces more cognitive reserve. Well, what does that mean? You know, so my simple approach to that is that I call it your 401k plan for your brain. Okay, just like your financial retirement program, you're going to, the more you save, the earlier you start saving, that bigger that retirement plan is going to deliver when it's time for you to retire, right? So I say building cognitive reserve is like, and doing dual task training throughout your life is like building your 401k plan for your brain. And how does that work? Well, the more we do this over a period throughout a lifetime, or the earlier we start doing this, the larger your 401k plan for your brain will be. Okay, that's clear. So how does it work? It works like if your genetics, if your parents and your grandparents and that started to show cognitive decline at 60, okay, then the opportunity for you with a 401k plan for your brain, high cognitive reserve, right? That will give you the extra time with having higher performance cognitively. So this is one of the key ways to outperform your genetics. And that's exciting because it now gives us choice.
Absolutely. Cathi, my brain, it just won't stop. So let's talk to our audience that maybe has dementia, or has a loved one with dementia, and they're in the early stages. And I have seen over the course of my career, I have seen people engage in programming, therapeutic programming, including movement. And I was doing dual tasking with them and didn't even realize what I was doing in the early years, but I saw that they did not have what I considered normal cognitive decline. They did progress in the disease, but they didn't have the loss of cognitive ability that I saw others do who were not engaged in anything. That is very exciting. So let's take what you just said, obviously, and I want to talk about the possibilities. If I was diagnosed and with dementia, and I wanted to start doing some things to
Yes.
strengthen my brain, to improve my life over the long haul, and to not have cognitive loss on a rapid level, what would that look like? What would you say to that person or those families? And I know that you and I have talked about this and we've explored it. We don't see this a lot because normally, and it's something in healthcare, is that when you get that diagnosis, it seems like they limit your possibilities with medication or those kinds of things. There's not this vast array of things that you can do. But when I look at SmartFit, I look at the possibilities of prolonging life, prolonging cognition, making the course of this disease take a different course. So talk about that a little bit, because that is exciting to me. It's exciting to the type of clients that I serve. And I want them to see and understand it's not just medication. It's not just let's wait and see what happens. There are things that we can do. And you've talked about this. And of course, it's going to look different. We're not talking about a cure here, but can you hit on that a little bit, Cathi, so that and shed some light?
Bear with me while I go to a slightly bigger answer. Okay, we're facing multiple challenges today when it comes to cognitive health. Okay, the bigger picture is we need to be looking at the food. Okay, because we know now that sugar and grains play a huge role in upsetting the microbiome, which then sets us on a path to cognitive decline, diabetes, and the other chronic diseases. That needs to be on the table for discussion as well. I'm not an expert, so I will not speak to that. But more importantly, we have to look at how we move in the world and how we engage in the world and what we consider retirement. Okay. I heard something from a couple in their 80s. Every time I got on a plane, they were off with ski equipment or some fabulous outfit, etc. And they were on to some big trip. And on Facebook, I would see all the stuff about cycling and the Dolomites in Italy and skiing here. And I stopped them one day at a party and I said, "What do you guys do? You look so amazingly vitally healthy in your 80s." And they said, "Here's the key. When you turn 70, you don't back off, you double up." Wow. And I just went, wow. And I've been practicing that. So now I can answer your question if that's okay.
Please.
Okay, so it's not about passive, it's about active engagement. So at the top level, if I want to maintain an incredible lifestyle all the way to the end, okay, and not have this slow, painful decline, I need to double up. And that means I need to look at how I'm moving and engaging, how I'm participating with others, love, social, all of those things. But now, so it's a much more complex picture. It actually is much more enhancing. Like, get out there, have fun, love, touch, play, you know? Now, when it comes to SmartFit, this is what I've been told by experts. And I'm going to use the MMFC score. Okay, if you got a score, either MOCA or MMFC, and you have a score, then I was told to read it this way. If the score is north of 22, which says you have some diagnosis of mild cognitive impairment, the key there is this is reversible. That's the key. You're catching it early enough to reverse. But you're going to have to double up. You're going to have to engage more, do more SmartFit. You're going to get results if you do SmartFit once a week, but you're going to get way better results if you do it twice or three times a week. Okay, so that's key. If your diagnosis comes in, I believe, north of 10 and up to 21, then you have you have dementia to a degree, and I'm not an expert here, but the key here is to slow it. And that's what you said, Dawn, slow it. And how do you slow it? Dual task training is the most efficient way to slow it. Get out and dance, get out and do Tai Chi, do yoga, and do SmartFit. Those are some of the keys to slowing this, okay? And then if the score comes in lower than 10, we still help people in wheelchairs and on walkers because we help them maintain their core strength. And if you can maintain your core strength, then you can maintain your activities of daily living longer. And that gives you dignity. So at every level, SmartFit can help.
I love that. You talk about two factors that I want to bring into this that are unique. You don't hear everybody talk about them. So the one thing that you talk about, I've heard you talk about on the webinar that I was in, is gamification. Talk about gamification and where that falls into dual tasking and SmartFit.
Okay. Here's your biggest challenge with getting someone to exercise, and that is they don't want to do it. They just don't want to do it. Why? And I'll tell you why. And I learned this as a school teacher. I had to teach difficult subjects that kids didn't want to learn. They did not like accountancy. They did not like the numbers. They did not want to do law, and they did not want to do economics. They hated it, didn't want to do it. So I turned it all into a game. And so we would have actors that would be debits and credits and the bank and the customer and all kinds of stuff. We would make up stories and games, and the kids would have to act this out, and therefore they learned their accounting and their basic rules of contract and all of this nonsense that that they thought was nonsense. And the net result was my results, my students' academic results came in so high that they wanted to reduce my scores because we overachieved on the bell curve. So I knew I had something here. So when it came to teaching, and then it came to life, and then it came to fitness, I realized we have two baskets in our lives. The one basket is filled with everything we love to do, we want to do. And the other basket is filled with everything we have to do. And there's something amazingly clever about all of us. We're really good at doing the things in the basket that we want to do, and we are really good at avoiding the things we don't want to do. So the first thing I did with all of this was come to terms with gamification. If it's a game, especially if it's a socially engaging game, then we've got them. Why? Because to create a new neural pathway, a new neural connection, requires using Dr. Beth Fisher's language, the one who did the professor who did the Parkinson study. She said the way you create a new neural connection is demand, demand, demand. So how do you get people to do practice, 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 practice until they have a new neural pathway? Dead boring. It's going to land up in that basket I don't want to do, and I'm going to find a way to avoid it. I'm too busy, my children need me, blah, blah. Okay. So how do you flip that around and put that in the 1-2 basket where you get up and you can't wait to get there? You make it fun, social, and games. And so that's where I started. But then I discovered something even more exciting, and that is when we play a game, there is something that wakes up in us. And it's either about competing with self to get better. There's something so incredibly beautiful in all of us. How did I do in that game? I can do better than that. Or how did I do in that game? Tom beat me. I can beat Tom. And that natural competitiveness is what drives all of us on this planet to always try and do better, create better, and improve our lives. It's also in our DNA. So when we make exercise a game and you start to see quick results, I got a 15-second game and I got a result and I do it again and again and again, I'm creating those new neural pathways, but I'm not doing it from hard work. It's just happening because I'm playing and playing and playing and having fun. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. The other thing that you bring into it is social connection. Let's talk about social connection and how important that is.
To me, it's everything. I mean, I just saw a paper this morning on cancer results, and that lonely people or unmarried or unpartnered people have a much, much higher rate of cancer than people who have connection. What does that tell us? It also tells us that about dementia and loneliness. And so, what is social media pushing us to? We're connecting with the world through our cell phones. And there's that human connection that's missing today. And what SmartFit can do is get you in the gym with a group of people goofing off. If you get on my website and you watch the videos, you'll see me in it. I'm laughing so hard with total strangers, just having the best time after a film shoot, just sitting with them over a bite to eat and just feeling like we were best friends and we didn't know each other 2, 3 hours before. You know, this is important.
I I I want to talk about your website in just a moment, but before we do that, if someone wants to support their brain health, where do they start?
It's a I would, number one, take a look at what I'm eating. Take a look at the sugars and the grains. I would, absolutely. There's too much science supporting the fact that that is a serious issue, and I saw it with my own mother. When, within 36 hours of her having a rich dessert, she had a blood sugar crash and she would become difficult to be with. So I would do that, definitely. But on the movement side, I would sign up. I would get to, you talked about daycare centers. If you're not in a senior living community where they offer all these wonderful ways to connect, then go to a daycare center or a YMCA or a city, the municipal centers offer programming. Tell them to get SmartFit and yoga and dance and find ways to do that, because life becomes richer on every level. And when it's richer, your brain functions better. I just feel so strongly about that.
Absolutely. My realm is memory care. It has been my realm for a number of years. I have seen some incredible things and breakthroughs. I've worked with some incredible people over my time and coached them and their families. But, I always get concerned, when people write people off or they feel like it's too late. It's a misconception. Quality of life, even with a dementia diagnosis, is important. It's something that I strive for, that I teach my team, that I train on. It's something I used with my own mother. My mother walked until a week before she passed. She had vascular dementia. She lived to be 94 years old. And even when we went out and she was in a wheelchair, she self-propelled. It was something that I kept her as active as I possibly could, engaged and socialized as long as possible. And I like to cast hope to people. And I feel like, I love SmartFit. I think it's incredible. I'm not an athlete myself. There's a lot more I could do, but I am someone who's passionate about therapeutic programming in people with dementia. And so, I want to cast hope to them. And I want to talk about the possibilities of looking at this concept. If you're a family on a caregiving journey and you really don't know what to do, I don't want you to give up. But what does this look like, even if it's minimal participation? And I know you hit on this, but, for me and the people that I support, we know the reality of diagnosis, but we're going to fight it to the end. Let's talk about some practical things, people who may be at home listening, that you could do in your home if you don't have SmartFit. And then I want to go into your website, because I know you have some incredible resources there. Can you address that to people who are at home?
Oh, I wish you would ask me that question in 2 or 3 years' time, because we are working on a home version.
Really?
And yes, and it won't be ready for a couple of years, but the plan is that you would have a unit at home and you would log in similar to any streamed class. You would log in, say, Parkinson's class at 10 o'clock. And so 10 o'clock, if you've got Parkinson's, you would log in with your favorite trainer and you would have a streamed class and work out on the SmartFit system. That's what's coming. Okay, so at this stage, I can't offer you SmartFit, but it's coming. The key here is, what can you do at home? Walking and connecting with nature is one of the things I love to do, and just having self-time early in the morning sunlight, just realizing that it's a beautiful world, and that you're safe, finding ways to feel safe and then engage. Like I've noticed people in my neighborhood, they walk and then they make friends and then they connect with other people. Then they walk with those people and they chat and talk while they walk. And a lot of them have dogs. And if they don't feel like walking, the dog makes sure that they walk. So there's things you can do like that. But you can also go on your TV and log in on YouTube and do a YouTube class in almost anything. And I've got friends who do their YouTube classes in the morning, like Tai Chi or Pilates or yoga early in the morning or when they wake up, that those things are available to just go on YouTube and do a class and find your favorite trainer and connect with your trainer and do your exercises. You're going to feel so much better after doing it.
Yes. So for those interested in SmartFit, tell us about your website. Tell us how someone could learn more about SmartFit and whether or not they have a gym. I know that there are gyms opening, brain gyms opening. I know there's some exciting stuff coming down the road. But Cathi, how would people find out more about you, more about the resources, talk about SmartFit and your website?
So my website is www.smartfitinc.com. Smartfitinc.com is where you'll find us. And on the homepage, we explain the concept, and then there's a button at the top called Customer Resources. If you go in there, you'll have access to webinar recordings by our leading scientists, etc. We're busy building that out. And I believe that we're still in the early stages of making this available around the world. We only have 1,000 sites right now, but the way you can help is to share that link with your local gym or your local municipality or your local wellness director if you're in a residential system, and just encourage them to explore this opportunity because it's fun, social, and it works. It produces results very, very quickly.
So, Cathi, as we begin to wrap up, is there anything in particular that you want people to take away today?
Oh, gosh, yes. Blow away all that science that says you have a fixed problem and continual decline, and it's only going to get worse. Just get rid of that totally and say no. I'm 71 years of age, and I am at the stage where I'm living my best life ever. And I just wish I knew this earlier, but I just absolutely love my life. And I think that's the important thing. Are you doing the things that make you, love your life, love your family, connect with them? And, sometimes we have hurt feelings and resentments that we've carried over the years that take up a lot of our hearts. And I always say, just take a look at those and see how they're hurting you and just throw them out. Sometimes it's self-forgiveness that's required, or forgiveness of someone who let you down or betrayed you or whatever. I'm just all about forgiving all those hurts so that we can open our hearts up to a lively, vibrant older life. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Cathi, what a pleasure to have you on the podcast today. I could talk to you for hours. I think it's incredible the work you've done. You are truly a pioneer. You're so inspiring, and I cannot wait to see what you do next, what becomes available to the public, and how you impact the brain health connection. I want to say to people who are dealing with dementia and on the dementia journey, you cannot investigate this enough. Try these things and see if they don't make a difference. And I will continue to follow Cathi. I hope to have her back. I will make available any resources I see that she has. This is so exciting to see this happen in my lifetime and to see the difference that this dual tasking, SmartFit, brain health connection is going to make an impact on this awful disease called dementia. I want to say to my listeners, thank you for listening. If you have resonated with this conversation, please reach out, please subscribe and share the podcast with someone that you know. Stay tuned for our resources and make it a memorable day.
Thank you for joining us for the Disappearing Mind podcast. We hope it's helped you find clarity and support along your journey. Be sure to subscribe to never miss an episode, visit our website to suggest future topics, and share the podcast with friends and family.